Utah gets its daily dose of liberty and logic. Think of this show as the Second Amendment for your mind. This is the show that fights to close that gap between rhetoric and reality. Now, follow my instructions closely. Write down our call-in numbers. You're going to need them. 801-254-5855 in Salt Lake County. 801-470-5855 in Utah County. And 801-670-5855 in Weber and North Davis. Now, just as Thomas Jefferson before me, I've sworn an eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the minds of men. While I may not agree with what you say when you call in, I will always fight for your right to say it. Today is May 10th, Tuesday. It looks like the weather is turning towards summer, which is nice. Today, we're actually, we've got two different segments today. Today, the first hour, I wanted to maybe introduce to you a strain of thought that is in the liberty movement that maybe you hadn't been aware of before. Now, there are many kinds of libertarians. I mean, there's obviously like the Libertarian Party, of which I'm involved with. I'm proud of my involvement with the Libertarian Party. But there's all kinds of libertarians out there, regardless of political party. You have, maybe on the left, you have more like your civil libertarians, those people who are concerned with civil rights and free speech issues, traditionally maybe more associated with the anti-war movement here in the United States, the peace movement. So you have civil libertarians on the left. You have, on the right, you have your Ron Paul types, of which I am a big fan as well. Guys like Ron Paul, Judge Napolitano, guys that would maybe be considered paleo-conservatives. You also have other types like anarcho-capitalists, guys like Murray Rothbard that think that there is no role for the state or government whatsoever. You also have minarchists, which believe that we should have a minimal government, which is what a lot of, I think, libertarians and a lot of even Republicans are starting to, Republicans are waking up to this too, that we only need a small government. We don't need this big government everywhere. And those, again, are typically called, in the nomenclature or in discussions, minarchists as opposed to anarchists, min being a reference to minimal government. There's also kind of the anti-corporate libertarians on the left that just believe, and you know, I'm fairly anti-corporate in my beliefs because I am an individualist. I try to judge people on their individual merits. I think that power in our culture should be decentralized all the way down to the individual, and no other group should really have power over the individual. Should be the most important consideration when legislating, which would do away with like affirmative action laws, which would do away with corporations being able to lobby, things of that nature that kind of would ripple out from an attention to individualism. And they tend to be on the left, but I really don't consider myself a left libertarian. I lean more right, I guess, if you were to use such crude and inaccurate language, I guess, but if that's the way you think about it. But for me, I'm into the decentralization of power all the way down to the individual level and the abolition of coercion. That is, as an alternative, completely voluntary and consensual relationships in our culture, right, as a political system. Now, one of the strains of thought that I did not mention is, it's called GeoLibertarianism. And it's basically proceeds from this idea that, most libertarians tend to agree on something called the non-aggression principle or the non-aggression axiom, which is basically saying that you're free to do whatever you like, as weird and strange and unusual as you like, as long as it doesn't coerce another person or impinge upon their individual rights. Now, that ripples out in different ways because largely one of the issues that libertarians grapple with and advocate for is tax reform or the abolition of tax. And we have all kinds of alternatives. We've had libertarians argue for a national sales tax, which is kind of what this fair tax idea that's being branded as the fair tax now. We have others that, like Ron Paul, that want completely to abolish the income tax, the IRS, the progressive income tax. We have other ones that appeal to a flat tax. We have others that appeal to a VAT tax. Well, the GeoLibertarians believe in a land tax and no other tax on labor or creativity, but the things that we share, like air, like land, that you basically create, you own what you create, but everything else basically belongs to nature and as such is taxable to help pay for things. So, for example, land. You would have to pay tax on that land because it has to be protected by a police or a defense force, or property rights have to be legislated by a court system of some sort, and that would be paid for by a land tax. But you and I, we would not be taxed on our labor, an income tax. And the guy who really has championed this concept is a gentleman by the name of Fred Foldvary. Now, we'll bring him in very shortly, but Fred Foldvary is an interesting guy. So he's kind of really done a lot of the theoretical work in trying to advance this idea of GeoLibertarianism, about a libertarian political system that the only taxation is derived from land use. Now, he's a PhD. He got his PhD from George Mason, I think, in the early 90s. He's a lecturer in economics at Santa Clara University. He is currently a research fellow at the Independent Institute, which is out of Oakland, a big libertarian think tank up there in Northern California. And he's really kind of pushed beyond. The guy that kind of was really known for this back in the day, kind of in the 1800s, was a guy named Henry George. Now, Henry George was, I think he was a political writer, also an economist, but he basically really promoted in the 1800s this idea, which became known as Georgism, that the only moral tax would be a land tax. Well, obviously we're no longer in the 1800s, and there's other issues that need to be addressed, and Fred Foldvary has taken up the mantle and pushed forward, and he actually, we'll talk to him here in a moment. I think he calls his philosophy geo-anarchism, so he might even believe that there's no need for a government. He's got a lot of interesting concepts. I think he's best known for his idea about that there's such a thing as a universal morality, which would be different from, say, moral relativism, that there is kind of an objective standard for what is right and wrong. And I'm sure it's somehow grounded in this non-aggression principle, but we'll ask him about that. He's also interested in what he calls cellular democracy or small group voting, which, I'm interested in voting from the mathematical angle with regards to instant runoff voting, proportional representation, things of that nature. But I want to see his view and hear how he would explain the concept of cellular democracy and how that would play out in our culture. And then, of course, besides this universal ethic and cellular democracy, he's also well known for deriving public revenues from land rent. So if you have questions for him, he's a very smart guy. Again, he's a lecturer in economics at Santa Clara University. He's a research fellow at the Independent Institute. He's written tons of books. The book that I have here in front of me is called The Soul of Liberty, with the subtitle, The Universal Ethic of Freedom and Human Rights. It's really interesting, how all of this plays out when you try to take a principled approach to, say, something like politics. So again, if you want to call in, you got questions for Dr. Foldvary, about his idea of the only taxation really coming from those things that we all share. A land tax, or how he's advanced this idea of Georgism to become this GeoLibertarianism or geoanarchism. Very interesting fellow and very smart guy. This book, it might be even above my pay grade, and I try to pride myself on being able to get through anything. It's quite a great book. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Dr. Foldvary, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome.
Hey, I'm a huge advocate for liberty and libertarianism. And before we got you on the horn there, I was kind of running down the gamut of all the different varieties, because one thing that I get a little tired of, I've been libertarian probably, I'm guessing, since I was undergraduate, 92, 93, somewhere back then. So I've had exposure, but there's a lot of people that haven't. And a lot of times you say libertarian and they assume, oh, you're an anarchist or you're a pothead or that, that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
But there's a whole gamut. I mean, there's on the left, there's civil libertarians. On the right, there's paleoconservatives, there's anarcho-capitalists, minarchists, yada, yada, yada. Well, I wanted to talk to you because you've kind of taken the mantle of developing this strain of geo-libertarianism.
That's right.
Now, for those of us here who maybe aren't as familiar with the nuances of geo-libertarianism, what would you say is the main difference from typically your average Joe Schmo who kind of has a passing interest in liberty and maybe he's like, yeah, taxes are wrong? What is it that's your argument that you find appeals most to people to draw them towards this idea of geo-libertarianism?
Yeah. Well, the geo has a double meaning. Geo stands for land, or earth, land, and geo is also the first three letters of George from Henry George. And so the geo-libertarianism derived from the thought of Henry George, who had an economic and ethical philosophy regarding land. And so that's the key difference between geo-libertarians and non-geo-libertarians, is the recognition that, first of all, land comes from nature and is already here. So therefore, if we get public revenue from land or land rent, it doesn't hurt production because the land's not going to run away and it's already here and we're not producing anymore. And secondly, it's a moral philosophy that libertarians recognize that if you produce something, it should be yours. We have self-ownership. Every person owns himself. There's no slavery is morally wrong. And so if you own yourself, you own your labor and the products of your labor and your wage. So nobody should take your wage away, not even the government. Right?
And so this fits in relatively nicely with, say, kind of, the old school lock-in idea that you own something by mixing your labor with it.
Right. But then the question then is who is the proper ownership of land?
Before we tell everybody, let's hang on. I'm sorry to have this break come up. I can't control them, but hang on and we'll develop these ideas more closely. We're here with Fred Foldvary on K-Talk, Voice of Utah.
AM 630, K-Talk. Honest talk, serious solutions.
Let's be real. Smoking sucks. It's a nasty, expensive, unattractive, and thoroughly unhealthy habit. There's the acrid smell in your clothes and on your breath. Yuck. Not to mention the increased health risk that cigarette smoke presents to those nearest and dearest to you. Call Salt Lake City Family Hypnosis now for your free consultation to learn how you can quit today. 801-738-5390. That's Salt Lake City Family Hypnosis, 801-738-5390.
Tune in each weekday afternoon at 4 for Drive Time Live, the Mills Crenshaw Show, brought to you by efoodsdirect.com/Mills. Gourmet meals at your demand, just add water. efoodsdirect.com/Mills.
It's our song, Doug.
You need to buy your windows from Window World. Our happy customers all agree.
Call Kathy today.
Call 281-8111 and you will clearly see.
Proper window installation makes a huge difference.
Anybody can bust out your old windows and slap in the new ones and leave you with the mess.
Our installers are thoroughly trained to expertly install, seal, and trim your new windows.
And they clean up afterwards.
Window World. Simply the best for less.
We promise no baloney.
The voice of Utah. AM 630 K-Talk.
K-Talk.com.
Number one for the most live, local, two-way talk.
Shout, let it all out. These are the things I can.
Welcome back, Mental Self-Defense Radio. I'm your host, Jake Shannon. I am joined today. We're very lucky to have on the show today a deep thinker about issues that are actually everyday issues. His name is Fred Foldvary. He's a Ph.D., earned that from George Mason. He is a lecturer in economics at Santa Clara University and also a research fellow at the libertarian think tank up in Oakland, the Independent Institute. And thank you again for joining us and helping to educate us a bit here, Doctor.
Sure.
So before the break, we were kind of leading up to what is the right way to gather taxes, or is that maybe not an appropriate way to paraphrase where we were going?
Well, GeoLibertarians differentiate taxes in form and taxes in substance. So a tax in substance is a payment to government that has no relationship to any kind of benefit. So like a sales tax or an income tax on your wages is a tax in substance. They're just taking money. But a tax in form, which is not a tax in substance, is a payment to government, but in payment of something of value. So a land value tax is a tax in form. It has the form of a payment to government, but in substance, you are paying for a benefit, the benefit of getting land rent, and the benefit comes from two sources. One from nature. There's a natural rent of land has because of its location, climate, and so on. But much of the rent, especially in urban areas, comes from the public works that government provides: the streets, the schooling, the protection, fire protection, infrastructure. All of that gives value to land.
So in your mind, then, given that land should be morally justified in being taxed, land use, how would you, in your mind and in your particular perspective, given the fact that you've been studying this stuff for decades and it's really your specialty, what is it best to have a tax system, a land use tax system that would be a pay-per-use or a flat rate tax, or how would be the best way to implement gathering the revenues?
It would be based on the market value of the land.
So it would be a one-time, once the owner buys it.
No, it's a period. It's like the property tax. You pay it every year.
Oh, I see. And so that basically would just be a property tax, a similar system, and we would eliminate the rest of the taxation.
You would eliminate the rest of the tax system, and you would eliminate the portion of the property tax that falls on the building. Because real estate consists of two types of property, the building or improvements and the land value. So all buildings and other improvements would be exempt. So if you improve your property, there's no extra tax.
Now it seems like the whole concept of GeoLibertarianism and land tax has taken off maybe more so abroad than it has here, right? Like Pennsylvania maybe has some land tax proponents that have actually taken action and gotten it implemented. And didn't Henry George himself somehow get like a small commune developed that operated under this system?
Yeah, it wasn't George himself, but his followers founded what they call, single tax communities or communities in which rent is paid to finance the services. So there's one in Arden, Delaware. It's a village near Wilmington, and it was founded in 1900. And so a land trust owns the land, and people have leaseholds, and they pay rent to the trust. The trust pays the expenses of the village and the property tax, because the state property tax is on buildings and land, but a leaseholder and resident of Arden doesn't see the part that's on building because the trust pays that.
So if I were to right now get up, pack up my family, move over there to Delaware to that particular city, I'm still going to have to pay federal. I mean, the federal government's going to come knock on my door.
Yeah, you still have to pay the federal income tax and state taxes. So, but what that demonstrates is that it's possible and very feasible to separate out the real estate value, the land value versus the building value, because they do it in practice, and the lease payments that are just on the land pay the expenses of the village community services.
Interesting. So
it's Georgism in practice.
And it's an alternative to what we typically see at that level, which would probably most typically be a sales tax, a local sales tax.
That's right, yeah.
Now, it's interesting because when I was doing a little research for the show to talk to you, I noticed that it is happening more internationally, it seems, than here. Is that fair to say? The idea of a property tax versus...
there are property taxes, part of which fall on land. And the interesting thing is that if you do an economic analysis, you take a sales tax or income taxes that probably half or more of ordinary taxes come from land indirectly. We're already taxing it indirectly. It's just not visible because the fact that property is being taxed decreases the rent, the market rent. So it's at the expense of rent. And some of the consumption taxes come from income from rent. So I would say more than half of taxes are already from rent or at the expense of rent. We just don't realize it.
Well, and you're in good company. I mean, not only Henry George, but even Adam Smith, Thomas Paine.
Yeah. Right.
You had some heavy hitters thinking about these issues, and it does reconcile with Locke as well, right?
Exactly. What John Locke said was that the land was given to mankind in common, and you can claim land by mixing your labor with the land, but you can only own the land itself if there's free land available to others of the same quality. He didn't go into detail what happens if not. That's where Henry George comes in. He says, well, if there isn't land of equal quality freely available, then human equality requires that the rent be equally shared.
Well, let me ask you this, because, as a libertarian, I do care about tax system because I do see it as a form of government coercion.
Right.
However, I think people who think like this are in the minority, a very extreme minority. And, every couple of years we hear things bandied around about changing the tax system. And first of all, a couple election cycles ago, it was Steve Forbes trying to push the flat tax.
Right.
And now we have all these Federal Reserve chairmen trying to push the fair tax. These are just right. And so, I guess I have two questions for you. One, what's it going to take to get some real traction behind this idea of the land tax as a real serious viable? I mean, is it just as easy as money? And then two, despite these alternatives, I mean, even a sales tax has got to be better than the progressive income tax, but it's still just sticking around. It doesn't seem like we're dislodging this behemoth of a tax code that everybody doesn't like. What would you say, first of all, with regards to what's been stopping this idea of a land, property tax being the tax, and that's it? And then two, do we really have a chance of replacing this disaster?
Well, of course, there are powerful political interests that preserve the status quo, and that includes real estate interests, and they contribute millions of dollars to political campaigns. And also the banking system, the way it's set up now is that much of its loans is to real estate. So they want property values as a collateral for loans. That's built into the financial system. And so there are very powerful special interests that contribute a lot of money to political candidates at all levels of government to keep that system in place. And then, secondly, there's no great public demand for fundamental tax reform because the public just doesn't understand the economics of it and how much better off they would be with a better tax system.
Yeah, they're too busy watching Dancing with the Stars or something.
Yeah, so there's massive economic ignorance among the public.
So what would you suggest? I mean, this is your passion, as I could see clearly by the prolific writing, your activities. I mean, not only do you have a PhD, not only are you a lecturer in economics and a research fellow at the think tank, the Independent Institute, but you also ran and came in third place in California for U.S. Congress as a libertarian, right?
Yeah, I ran in the year 2000 in the Libertarian Party for Congress.
I just, is it as simple as the fact, because, and I'm asking you because of anybody I'm going to talk to, I think you're the guy. That's why I want you here, because I want to be able to pick your brain.
Yeah.
You know, is it impossible? I mean, I know our fight is an educational fight, especially as libertarians, because we can't really force people to adopt our beliefs.
Yeah.
But, or are we best served by just letting these guys continue to run roughshod and wait for the collapse of the entire system and hope that we have enough good guys ready to, in the rebuilding effort? I mean, what would you say strategically from your perspective?
I don't think waiting for a collapse is that great an idea, because what comes afterwards can be even worse.
Yeah.
We saw what happened with the Russian Revolution. The Tsarist Empire collapsed, and then it was replaced by the Soviet Union, which was even worse.
And then the Soviet Union's been replaced with this crony capitalism.
Right. And in Iran, when they got rid of the Shah, and then they replaced it with the Islamic Republic.
Yeah, it is. I think that's shrewd advice. It is a rather risky gamble to hope that what comes out of the ashes is actually some sort of libertarian utopia, which is probably unlikely.
So I've been trying to, influence libertarians to be more geo-oriented, and in publications, try to influence the public the little bit that I can do. I also write a weekly column for a website called progress.org.
So if people go to progress.org, they can follow your readings or your writings?
Yeah, it's once a week, and then there's other articles also besides mine there once a week, and there's other. So it's kind of a Georgist type of website.
Well, it's absolutely fascinating, and as far as libertarian ideas go, a lot of times libertarians get flack from these neoconservatives or these ardent Democrats / socialists, whatever you want to call them. They denigrate us by saying our ideas are just too extreme or crazy or something. But this actually seems like something that isn't, because you're still going to get tax revenue.
Exactly, and also one reason why economists haven't been as enthusiastic about it as they should be is because they don't realize how much rent there is in the economy. They would agree that theoretically it's a good idea, but they think that there's not that much rent, not enough rent. But there was a study in Australia which really dug into it and showed that 1/3 of the national income of Australia consists of land rent. And I've seen other studies for the United States that indicate it's about 20%, which I think is an understatement. So there's more than enough rent to pay for all the public goods provided by government. Not that, as a libertarian, I think government spends way too much. And I would want to, if we eliminated taxes and restrictions on labor and enterprise, you would tremendously increase people's wages, most of which gets taxed away now, and it greatly reduce poverty. So you wouldn't need all these transfer payments. You don't need Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and all that if everybody can keep his wages and have a good wage. So there's plenty of rent, even for the big government that we have, for public goods. Maybe not enough for transfer payments, but if you eliminate transfer payments, the rent is adequate. And several Georgist economists have studied that and concluded that.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because, like I opened the show, there are so many different flavors for those people that are advocates of liberty in libertarianism that, for example, and this is kind of a leading question because I want to know how this plays out because I'm not as familiar with it. I think a lot of people that are kind of as nerdy as I am about libertarianism and, do some back research, a lot of us know about anarcho-capitalism.
Right.
This idea that, you can have business and markets and you actually don't maybe need a government at all.
Yeah.
But there's also a strain of geo-anarchism, isn't that right?
That's right, and I'm sympathetic towards that. In other words, replace the functions of government with private enterprise, including private communities. I wrote a book on private communities called Public Goods and Private Communities. And so private communities include like condominiums, homeowners associations, land trusts like Arden, Delaware, and or proprietary communities like shopping centers, hotels, and so on.
And then you suggest that conflicts between one condominium and the other, there's some sort of federal system or confederation?
Yeah. The local communities would form a higher level association to provide services like freeways that require a larger scale, and then these regional areas would get together and form a higher level association for things that have, even greater scale. And so there could be this structure all the way up to a continental level. And so it's a kind of a multi-level governance structure, but all at the base of it are contractual voluntary communities, which and because they would not have a sales tax or an income tax, what they would do is they would get their revenue, in effect, from payments based on real estate, especially land. So that would be Georgism through the market, just through a natural evolution. Because, you go to a hotel and pay for a room, they don't ask you what your income is. If they said, well, it's based on your income, you'd say, well, that's none of your business. I just want to pay for a room because I'm getting a service.
Right. And the other thing is that concept of this confederation that it kind of builds like a pyramid where you could have one layer and then that's represented by the next layer of federation represent on up. But the thing is it's congruent with this idea of federalism that we have here, this big 10th Amendment states' rights movement.
Exactly, and it would be a bottom-up structure, not top-down.
Yeah, which I think is way more congruent with those of us in the libertarian movement that consider ourselves individualists,
right?
That want a bottom-up power structure.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, that's fascinating stuff. So you've clearly thought deeply, and not only that, but done the research with regards to public revenues from land rents. But I also, in the book, The Soul of Liberty, you start talking about this concept of a universal ethic. And This is something that I'm a big fan of moral philosophy and epistemology, and I was kind of very interested in to see this, and I actually like it because I think you're in that kind of Immanuel Kant tradition that says, you know what, let's be real here. You're a human being as such. You know what right and wrong is. Basically, punching somebody in the face that doesn't deserve it, that translates across cultures.
That's right. Yeah. So what I did in that book, Soul of Liberty, is to derive natural moral law. Of course, natural law is an ancient philosophy, and you've had philosophers like John Locke develop those ideas. But John Locke he outlined what it is. He never really derived it. So I felt the need for a book that would derive natural law as a set of principles, rules, which then I call the universal ethic, because it applies universally to all mankind.
Yeah, you make a distinction between people would adopt this moral ethic, that this is where rights come from, and you could still have your religious beliefs.
Right.
So how does that work for your typical person, that you're trying to convince of this, that doesn't have an interest in moral philosophy, and maybe doesn't know the difference between deontological and consequentialist or what? You got to reach them in a way that's common sense. Yeah. How do you present this idea?
Well, it's derived from two very basic and simple premises, and John Locke had those premises. One is that we are individuals. Our thinking and feeling is individuals. Right? We are all individuals with our own values.
Hey, Fred, hold on a second. Again, these commercials is how we keep the lights on around here.
Okay.
I want to pick up where we left off. I've got Fred Foldvary, author, economist, and all-around smart guy. Come on back. Mental Self-Defense Radio on K-Talk.
AM 630, K-Talk. Utah's independent radio voice for 45 years.
63% of Americans are overweight. If you've decided it's time to leave your flat behind, HitFit Weight Loss is for you. HitFit changes habits. Lose the bad habits, lose the weight. HitFit is guaranteed to make your weight loss successful and has absolutely no health risks. HitFit students are not required to count calories, weigh portions, or buy specialty food. Start losing weight immediately. Call 801-635-4488. HitFit is conveniently located at Salt Lake City Family Hypnosis. Ask about our Guaranteed to Stop Smoking program. 801-635-4488.
Tune in each weekday afternoon at 4 for the Drive Time Live, the Mills Crenshaw Show, brought to you by efoodsdirect.com/Mills. Delicious gourmet meals that are quick and easy to prepare. Call for your free sample. efoodsdirect.com/Mills.
At Acme Heating and Air, we save you time and money. The state of Utah has an energy audit program that will pay you hundreds or thousands to have new energy-efficient equipment, windows, insulation, and more installed in your home. But funds are limited. So act now by calling Acme Heating and Air at 801-467-1050. With over 25 years of heating and air experience at Acme, we work extra hard to earn your trust and confidence. Plus, we pledge only drug-free employees with complete and comprehensive background checks. Right now, Acme has up to $2,000 in rebates for new furnaces and a brand new springtime AC special. Acme will chemically clean your outside AC unit and pressure check all lines and system components for just $78. Imagine that, just $78 to make sure your home and family are cool and comfy this summer. Call Acme Heating and Air today at 801-467-1050 for upfront pricing with no surprises. At Acme, if you're uncomfortable, so are we. Call today, 801-467-1050. That's 801-467-1050.
The Voice of Utah. AM 630 K-Talk.
K-Talk.com.
Number one for the most live, local, two-way talk.
I kinda like to be the president. So I can show you how your money's spent.
Boy, that's some scary lyrics to a song when you really listen to it. Welcome back. Mental Self-Defense Radio. I try to bring you guys really smart people to raise the level of conversation, maybe raise the level of our consciousness, of our awareness about different things, that not just all the stuff on push media like TV, that there's other things besides Entertainment Tonight and Dancing with the Stars. And one of the guys that I'm happy to present to you is a gentleman by the name of Fred Foldvary. Now, for those of you just tuning in, Fred, he's a senior lecturer in economics. He's got his PhD from George Mason. He's a senior lecturer in economics at Santa Clara University. He's also a research fellow at the Independent Institute. He's written several books on extending the ideas of Henry George and how we could pay for this system, how we could be libertarian, have our rights protected, all that kind of stuff, and get away from an income tax. And the scary thing is this guy's doing stuff that would affect you probably the most radically in a day-to-day thing. You probably spend most of your day after sleeping at work. And this guy's ideas would affect the amount of money you're able to take home while maintaining our roads, doing all the things, and you probably never heard of them. That's the problem. So that's what we're trying to fix here. And on the phone with us is Fred Foldvary. Are you still there, sir?
Yes.
Hey, so before the break, this is Salt Lake City in Utah, obviously a big Mormon LDS community. And what's interesting is that, I think a lot of people confuse a religion for a moral system.
Yeah.
And as such, they just don't ever want to address how somebody like, say, a Harry Reid could be in the same political party as an ultra-conservative person, and they both are LDS. And in your book, The Soul of Liberty, you lay out this idea, which I think is in the tradition of Immanuel Kant and his categorical imperative. But for people who don't care about that kind of stuff, how do you explain this idea of where morality and hence rights come from?
Yeah, it comes from human nature. And as John Locke said, that in human nature there's a law of nature or a natural law, because we are beings which base our actions on reason, and we make choices. So those choices can affect others for better or for worse. And the two premises that John Locke had for natural moral law was our equality and our independence. So as equal beings, and Thomas Jefferson recognized this in the Declaration of Independence, he says all men are created equal. So as equal beings, that implies a moral law which says no one ought to harm another. Right? It's morally wrong to coercively harm another person.
And then you even get into the point, though, because, what if you're dealing with a masochist?
Yeah, so it's morally wrong to harm others. But what you do to yourself, right, should not be legally restricted. It's by the universal ethic, anything you do that only affects yourself is neutral. And so you have the natural right to do anything that does not harm others. And that's the fundamental libertarian.
Doesn't it get down to the fact, and this is me nitpicking because I've come up against this problem, and I'm curious how you reconcile it. Yeah. Doesn't it come down to how we define the term? Because the argument sounds great, but how do we define the term harm?
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Harm is an invasion into another's domain, such as
but that's only physical, right? Like if I call somebody a name, it could be harmful, but is that enforceable?
In my judgment, libel and slander are also types of harm. If you deliberately ruin somebody's reputation by lying about that person, and people believe that, you've also invaded their domain.
Well, let me ask you this then. So let's say, because I've actually run into this in my life, in my effort to be an honest person and try to help people, I've found people that are scam artists. And I have alerted people that, hey, you know what this person is doing, look at these facts. I've never called the person a name, never done anything that it would be considered.
And that's not libel and slander. You know, if it's the truth, you know, and you're...
But the guy who I did that to, I harmed him. I harmed his ability to make money from scamming people.
Right. If somebody is about to shoot you and you defend yourself, or you shoot him before he can shoot you, see, the criminal has violated equality, because the criminal who uses force against you has made himself a master and turned you into a slave.
So basically, you're tightening down this definition of harm, and then you're saying there's this equality clause of some sort.
Yeah, if you defend yourself from attack, you are restoring equality. So what's wrong is the initiation of force. Defense against force is morally proper, and that's why I have in my book, The Soul of Liberty. After I lay down the universal ethic, then I talk about self-defense being a supreme right.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating stuff. Now, Fred, is it okay? I got a caller here who wants to talk, has a question for you.
Okay.
Okay, so, hey, Mark in South Jordan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
How are you, buddy?
Good, great show.
Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, I try to get these super big brain guys to talk to us. So, what's your question for Dr. Foldvary about land rent and this idea of GeoLibertarianism?
Actually, the GeoLibertarian, I've been considering myself that for probably 10, 12 years now. I actually used to be active libertarian out in Southern California. So
then you know of Foldvary's work, then probably.
Oh yeah, big fan. So I was stoked when I saw that you were having him on. So.
Oh, great. Well, here's your opportunity. Pick his brain. I don't know if you guys know each other, but pick his brain.
No, I think I've met him, but I don't necessarily know him, but I have met him because I was active back years ago.
So what's your question for him, Mark?
Well, I love the whole concept of, basically what I bring it on down to is that the revenue or any taxation that we do as society should come from people that are receiving some kind of government granted privilege, like you say, land and minerals and all of those type of things. Do you carry that philosophy over at all to any kind of corporate privilege, considering that corporations receive limited liability status basically for free from the government? Should they have to pay for that type of privilege?
Yeah, that's a controversial issue among libertarians. Mm-hmm. And I come down on the side that corporations really are not a government-granted privilege, because if you take limited liability, for example, there are partnerships that are limited partnerships in which some of the partners that are limited partners have limited liability. They can only lose the money they invested. Only the general partners have unlimited liability. So they are analogous to a corporation where the board of directors does not have limited liability. People can go after their personal assets, but the shareholders should not have to, have liability more than the value of their shares. And in a market, ultimately in nature, there's no such thing as unlimited liability, because the saying, you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. In practice, you can only extract value that's there. So I don't see a corporation really as a privilege any more than any other kind of business. It's just a way of organizing a business, and you enable the company to get a lot of money by issuing shares of stock, and so it's a very efficient way to get a lot of revenue for the company. And I don't see corporations really as doing harm just from being corporations.
I understand that. I'm thinking more along the lines of like oil companies and nuclear plants. I know nuclear plants, they have their liability capped, and the government takes care of the rest of it.
Right. So there should not be liability caps. There was a liability cap on damage from oil spills, which was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So a company that has an oil spill should be fully liable for all the damage they do, all the environmental damage and damage to the economy. So yeah, there should be no subsidies. In a free market, there's neither subsidies nor taxes and substance. But I don't see the corporation itself as being a privilege or a subsidy. Now, their actions can be subsidized, and they shouldn't be.
Sure. Bank bailouts and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
Seem pretty privileged to me, but
that's right. Yeah.
How about the concept then of, I know on reading progress.org, the Citizens Dividend kind of concept? What are your thoughts about that?
The Citizens Dividend would be the rent being distributed to the people instead of going to the government. So instead of the government getting revenue and then, say, providing schools, give the money directly to the people, because the people are the true owners of the rent, not the government. Government is just ideally their agent. So give it to the people, and then the people can spend their own money, on things like schools and parks and roads and whatever other services they want.
Sure.
So that's the idea. The Citizens Dividend is a share of the rent going directly to the people, and a good example of that in practice is the state of Alaska, which gets a lot of money from its oil, and so some of the oil revenues are distributed directly to the people. People are getting a share of the rental value of that oil.
Sure. That's it. Where do you find that you get the most, support from people on the left or from people on the right? Or cause I tend to find that when I talk about this stuff, it's people on the left that tend to be sympathetic, because most people they denigrate liberals and so forth, but they just don't like the idea that there's people out there getting a lot of privilege, and they I think inherently see the privilege. Do you see that GeoLibertarian kind of gravitates towards the left or to the right?
It can gravitate towards both. It's really not a left-right thing, because there are people on the right who don't like the welfare state and don't like income taxes that steal from the rich, and so there have been people on the right who have been followers of Henry George. For example, William F. Buckley was a Georgist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Big Georgist.
Wow, that's very. Yeah, it does seem appealing across. It does seem like a philosophy, a political philosophy that would be uniting, given the way that the fallout has happened between the left and the right, where the left tends to be environmentalist and the right tends to be corporatist, and this seems to solve both problems. It seems to appeal to both.
That's right.
Fascinating stuff. Anything else you want to ask Fred, Mark?
No, I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks a ton for the call. So, again, Fred, the best way for people to follow you, I actually stumbled on you. I've known of you for years, and then I stumbled onto you on Facebook.
Oh.
So, obviously, you're on Facebook, and then what was the website again? Progress.org?
Progress.org is the website, which has many articles, but I have a weekly article in there.
Okay, great. And then you're also affiliated with the Independent Institute out of Oakland.
That's right, and then it can go to my website, Foldvary.net.
Well, that's great.
www.foldvary.net is my website.
And you spell that for people who don't know, it's Fold and then Vary.
Correct, Foldvary.
.net.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, I really wanted to thank you again for taking the time to come on and explain this idea of Georgism and how it's related to kind of the modern liberty movement. It's interesting. Who else, because that kind of fascinated me, who else besides, say, Buckley was a big Georgist?
Well, some libertarian heroes were really Georgists. Albert Enoch.
Oh, really?
Was a Georgist. In fact, he did a biography of Henry George. And you've heard of Frank Chodorov?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, he was a Georgist, too. In fact, he was the head of the Henry George School in New York that has classes on Henry George's ideas.
Wow. So what is it going to take? I mean, we're going to need to get somebody to brand GeoLibertarianism as the fair tax has been done and the flat tax and all that?
Well, it's becoming more known, and it's discussed in internet forums. But we just need more people who have forums exactly like you're having.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time because for those who don't know, I mean, you really are, and you're a very nice guy, but you really are kind of the guy when it comes to these issues. You've been there for years, and you've done really incredible work. So I just want to thank you for taking the time to come here and help educate the people here in the state of Utah about this alternative that's there. I think a lot of people just look at the menu and only see two things, and they don't realize you can flip it over, and there's a whole list of ideas out there.
That's right.
So, again, Foldvary.net. Also, I'm sure if they go to the Independent Institute, they can find your stuff. Right. And then Progress.org?
Yes.
Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Hey, thanks again, Dr. Foldvary.
You're very welcome.
Okay, take care.
Okay.
Great stuff, guys. We're going to have here very shortly Brian Higgins from the 48-Hour Film Project. Kind of exciting stuff happening right here in Salt Lake City. Come on back after the break.
AM 630, K-Talk. When you're talking ethics, integrity, and honesty, you're talking K-Talk.
Wake up without yuck in your lungs or the dark cloud of lung cancer or heart disease looming over your future. Have the energy and health you deserve by simply calling Salt Lake City Family Hypnosis at 738-5390. Forget what you've seen from TV and the movies. Hypnosis is powerful and natural and has been accepted by the American Medical Association since the 1950s. Our methods have proven time and again to be more effective than pills, patches, gum, and willpower for quitting smoking. If you've tried the rest, now call the best. Salt Lake City Family Hypnosis, 801-738-5390. That's Salt Lake City Family Hypnosis, 801-738-5390. Be sure to ask about our proven weight loss and natural breast enlargement programs. Visit us online at slchypnosis.com.
May is Mother's Day. Here's a couple of reminders from Price's Guaranteed Doors. First, doesn't Mom deserve the best working garage door? Aren't you tired of trying to fix it? For a one-time cost of $259, we'll give your mom the best working door for the rest of her life. Second, all of you who bought a new home from one of our premier builders, Ivory Homes, D.R. Horton, MacArthur Homes, or Peary Homes, remember, go to pricesdoors.com and register for your free lifetime maintenance program. Every door we sell comes with one. And just for Mother's Day, she could get a new Genie garage door opener with a keyless entry, complete and installed for only $259. Call Price's Doors today at 975-7575. That's 975-7575. Home of the Lifetime Maintenance Program.
You're listening to Utah's first #1 talk station. K-Talk, AM 630, KTKK, Sandy, Salt Lake City. The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
CNN Radio, I'm Shelby Lynn. President Obama is in El Paso, Texas, talking immigration reform. It's our top story this hour. The president says the current immigration system is broken and that it's far from the ideal that Americans once cherished.
We define ourselves as a nation of immigrants, a nation that welcomes those willing to embrace America's ideals and America's precepts.
But the president also admits it's tough to balance the promise and the principles the U.S. stands for with its rich immigrant history while enforcing and reforming the laws of a broken immigration system. The Mississippi River is cresting in Memphis. Widespread flooding has already forced thousands of people from their homes. Danny Hayes lives in Bogota, Tennessee. He says his trailer is completely surrounded by water, but he says he's hopeful his community will make it through.
These people are just plain country people that survived these things way before I got here. So like I tell people, it's not for everybody.
There's big concern, too, as the high water on the Mississippi moves south into Louisiana and Mississippi. Flooding is already underway in parts of Mississippi. Internet giant Microsoft is buying web phone service provider Skype. Engadget editor Richard Lai says there's a few plans Microsoft might have for Skype.
Maybe Microsoft's acquisition will speed up the development to integrate this technology into their other products. So say like Xbox Connect or even Windows Phone 7.
The Microsoft Skype deal is worth $8.5 billion. A Senate committee convened a hearing today on privacy issues surrounding smartphones and tablets. Both devices can track people's locations and store users' private data. Apple and Google executives are testifying at the hearing. The Senate also is convening a hearing later this week on high gas prices. For news anytime, go to CNN.com. This is CNN Radio.
Mike Rowe talked to a real Ford service advisor surrounded by lots of tires.
Am I crazy, Fiona, or is this a lot of tires?
Well, Mike.
Don't answer. How many tires does Ford buy every year?
Over 3 million.
That's a lot of tires.
Well, we carry 11 major brands.
So the chances are very good that if I need new tires, you have them.
Absolutely.
At a good price.
We will beat our competitors' prices.
Huh. What is all this talking here about rotating tires? Is that important?
It's very important to rotate your tires. It's the life of your tires.
Now, see, isn't that kind of counterintuitive to a person who's in the business of selling tires?
Yes, but it's our job to make sure our customers get the longest life out of their tires as they can.
When you stop by a Ford dealer now, you can buy 4 Goodyear, Continental, Pirelli, Hankook, Dunlop, or Yokohama tires and get a $100 rebate. $100. And that's on top of the low price tire guarantee.
3 million tires, 11 major brands. Fiona's kind of nice. I don't know why you're not here.
Competitors ad required for tire guarantee. Stop by any participating dealership or visit FordOwner.com for rebate details through 5/31/11.
The Home Depot is helping decking pros lower their bids with Veranda Armor Guard composite decking. Start building with durable, ultra-low maintenance material and for a lot less than other premium composites. Saw it, drill it, and get it with a 20-year warranty against cracking, splitting, color fading, and staining. Veranda Armor Guard can help lower your bids, which could help you win more jobs. And there's only one place to get it. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. U.S. only. See store for details.
Wearing glasses with Crizal lenses can make a big difference in your vision. Neither the sandstorms of the Mojave Desert, nor the dust and dirt of a Texas rodeo, nor the glare of the bright lights of Broadway can keep you from having the clearest vision possible. For no glare lenses with great water, dirt, dust, scratch, and smudge resistance, choose Crizal. Live life in the clear. That's C-R-I-Z-A-L. Crizal. Ask for them at your eye care professional.
Today's Medical Minute is brought to you by Brandon Babcock. Did you know that more than 24 million people in the United States have been diagnosed with diabetes, and most of them suffer from type 2 diabetes?
Hi, I'm Dr. Brandon Babcock of the Functional Endocrinology Institute of Utah. In today's Medical Minute, I will be discussing my revolutionary new approach to type 2 diabetes. Did you know that hormone and thyroid imbalances can make diabetes worse? And there should be a very specific diet to help you reverse your diabetes. We are the only certified facility in Utah with a comprehensive diet and nutrition program that can reverse the effects of type 2 diabetes. Find out more about our program and to see if you qualify by calling now.
For more information on type 2 diabetes treatment from Dr. Babcock, please call 801-337-9797. That's 801-337-9797. Or visit UtahDiabetesHelp.com. That's UtahDiabetesHelp.com.
Let's be real. Smoking sucks. It's a nasty, expensive, unattractive, and thoroughly unhealthy habit. There's the acrid smell in your clothes and on your breath. Yuck. Not to mention the increased health risk that cigarette smoke presents to those nearest and dearest to you. Call Salt Lake City Family Hypnosis now for your free consultation to learn how you can quit today. 801-738-5390. That's Salt Lake City Family Hypnosis, 801-738-5390.
Exposing politics as pro wrestling. Welcome to Mental Self-Defense Radio and the Jake Shannon radio program. Now, here's your host, Jake Shannon.
5-1, baby. 1 in 5.
Welcome back, Mental Self-Defense Radio. Here we are in hour 2. I am definitely going to stretch your brain because we spent hour 1 talking about alternative tax systems, Georgism and land rent and philosophy and all that kind of stuff. And we're gonna move in a different direction. I have with us, or with me in studio, a gentleman. It's actually an interesting concept. My friend Scott suggested this as a topic, and I don't even know if Scott knows this about me because this goes back a long ways. But I actually, when I entered into as an undergraduate, I actually started as a film major, and so this is actually interesting to me. In studio, I've got Brian Higgins. Now, Brian Higgins has been charged with organizing the local Salt Lake leg of a competition. Now, this isn't just any competition. This is called the 48-Hour Film Project. And so he'll tell you more about it here in a second. But as far as I understand it, local filmmakers get the opportunity. It's like a film festival of sorts, but it's a competition. And so they get the opportunity to shoot a film in 48 hours and screen it. And if it does well, it moves to the next level of competition all the way up. And then you said the ultimate big worldwide winner then goes to Cannes.
Yeah, well, that's basically the concept. Hello, everyone, by the way. I'm Brian Higgins.
Yeah, get right up on that mic. You got to get right to it.
Hello.
There we go.
So there we go. Yeah, so hello, everyone. I'm Brian Higgins. Hopefully you can all understand my gorgeous accent here.
Yeah, you're Irish, which my last name's Shannon, so that's always good by me.
Indeed, yeah. So basically, yes, the 48-Hour Film Project, it's the 10th anniversary. It's an international filmmaking project. It's the 5th anniversary in Salt Lake, so we've got some nice anniversaries coming up. So
yeah, so 5 years here, but 10 years. I've tried to run things before. To get something going 10 years, you have to have popular support.
Oh yeah, and it is a popular thing. It has launched.
Yeah, speak straight into the mic.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, it has launched a good few careers. And it is a springboard. Basically the 48-Hour Film Project's mission is to advance filmmaking and promote filmmakers through its festival and competition. The project encourages filmmakers and would-be filmmakers to get out there and make movies. The tight deadline of 48 hours puts the focus squarely on the filmmakers, emphasizing creativity and team working skills, while the time limit places an unusual restriction on the filmmakers. It is also liberating by putting the emphasis on doing instead of talking.
Well, and that's fascinating because we were talking during the commercial break that to be able to do that, I was a film major for a couple years, and I made a couple, obviously student lame films, but it's an incredible coordination effort to actually produce a film. I think people take it for granted that every time there's a cut and every time there's a new wardrobe. There's so much that goes behind the scenes. And I guess we're made aware of it every time you watch a movie and you see the credits go on for 5 hours afterwards. But it's a huge problem to make that. And so this is actually probably very smart with regards to you said some careers have been made. This is probably very smart for those big corporations that are making films like out in L.A., that they could see somebody like, man, this guy made this incredible movie in 48 hours. He must be, incredibly economical with his money and really know how to get a great performance out of his actors and that kind of thing. Is that fair?
Yeah, it shows innovation, creativity. You can meet productivity and you can meet your deadlines. The great thing is you didn't have a film on Friday night and then on Sunday night you do have a film. It also shows that you're capable of making something. The beauty of it, what I found was I was actually a participant for 8 years. As I say, it's the 10th anniversary, so I made a film for the first 8 years, and then I took over the project when I came to Salt Lake.
Okay. So you've been in Salt Lake about 3 years.
Yeah, and when I first moved to America, I didn't have any friends. Basically I came along with a suitcase, $200 in my pocket.
Wow.
And, I actually saw the ads on Craigslist for the 48-hour, and I thought, this would be a great way to meet people. So stuck an ad on Craigslist. I'm looking for a team, and I got a couple of people that joined up, and so we went and made the film, and basically I never looked back, and that's where I've made the majority of my friends and my colleagues. And
interesting.
I've never looked back, and it's really a great community building experience.
Now, I don't necessarily think of Salt Lake as a big film mecca, but, you know, I have to when I stretch my brain a little bit here. Obviously, Sundance is huge. I mean, huge. And then I know that there is some media here, like Disney filmed some TV shows out of Salt Lake, and there's some other stuff like that. What else is going on that you, as kind of an insider that's been living this in this culture here, what is it like here in Salt Lake?
Well, Salt Lake, you know, yes, of course we've got Sundance and we've got Slam Dance, and then we've also got Salty Horror Film Festival. We've got a lot of...
Is that big?
Well, it was its first year.
Oh, okay.
Last year, you know, and then, you know, you always have to do your first to get to your second, to get to your third.
Sure.
It was tough to get. We didn't get the audience numbers that we wanted, but it is tough to get a genre festival up and running. We've also got the We Like Short Shorts Festival coming up on June 3rd. So it's just a forum to allow people to get your work shown. You know, a lot of people make a film and then it sits on the shelf. You know, a lot of people are worried or scared of their work. You know, they make something and then they don't want to show it to an audience.
Sure.
In case it gets...
Sure, yeah. Nobody likes to be criticized.
Yeah.
Trust me, I stick my neck out there every single day.
Yeah, but you know, creative people are here for a reason. You know, they've got the drive, but then they don't want to go to the next step. So I do think that Salt Lake has got a great creative community, and it's only going to get better with technology changing so quickly with the digital media. You know, it's a whole lot easier to make film now. That you don't have to wait and for film stock.
Yeah, you don't have to have it developed, or when you used to shoot, I used to shoot on Super 8 film, and it was a pain. And yeah, even the editing, we used to have the dual shuttle bays and all that. It's all on a computer. It's easy now, huh?
Oh, certainly.
So for those people who are kind of plugged into the film business here in the region, they probably know of this. I mean, it's 5th year in Salt Lake, 10th year running. But for those people who kind of are, you know, interested in the way that you got interested, you know, they want maybe to make friends, or maybe, hey, I've got an idea and I want to go and be a part of this. What is the best way for them to get involved? I mean, I think I saw you guys on Facebook. Do you have a Facebook page?
Yeah, we've got the Facebook page. We've got it's a Facebook group. We do meetups every Wednesday. We started doing the meetups 2 weeks ago up in Ogden, and then we're down in Salt Lake last week. We're going up to Provo on the 18th at Coffee Pod. We'll be there. And basically, you know, you come on out, you can chat to us. There's a lot of existing teams that are already signed up that they're looking to recruit new members. So basically, if you've never made a film, you're interested in being in a film, you don't have to be an actor. You don't need to understand anything. You know, these filmmakers are just interested in building a community, and they'll give you something to do, whether it's just being an extra, you know, just being a dead body in the background that you just have to be on set, or just to hold the microphone, or climb up a ladder and sellotape some black cardboard to the window to stop the light coming through. You know, everyone is there to have fun and make friends. You know, or if you are a filmmaker, you can certainly come on to the website, which is www.48hourfilm.com/Salt Lake City, and register your team.
So 48 hour, and then hour is not the word, it's just the HR. Is that right?
No, it's HOUR.
It's the full word. Okay, so 48hourfilm.org.
.com.
.com. 48hourfilm.com.
Yeah, and then /Salt Lake City. But you will find, as I say, it is the 10th anniversary in the whole world, so you can go and see every city around the world and see what everyone else is doing.
That's fascinating. And so do you have an idea of how many different cities are participating? Just generally. I know it's kind of putting you on the spot a little bit.
I know last year 80 cities across the world did. And I know last year in Salt Lake alone we had 53 teams that signed up, and over that there was 1,500 people that took part.
Wow. And so then there's judging that goes on. The cream of the crop passes to the next level.
Yeah,
More judging passes to the next.
Yeah, so basically on the 17th of June, you'll come down to the gateway down in Salt Lake, and we'll be there with our 48-hour T-shirts on, so you'll not miss us. We'll be out the front of the megaplex, and basically the team leaders come up and they pick a genre out of the hat, so they'll get action, adventure, comedy, drama, western, musical, any type of thing you can dream of. And then they get given a prop, a line of dialogue, and a character. and then they have 48 hours to go off and make their film.
Okay, because that actually helps me, because I'm always, look, the name of my show is Mental Self-Defense. I'm always looking for, the angles of letting people know how to cheat, like how are people cheating the system and that kind of stuff. So first of all, I thought, okay, cool, 48 hours, but how do you know I didn't just set up in my garage and start 2 weeks before?
Well, that's the beauty of Salt Lake. We have a small community, and basically I know near enough everybody, all the filmmakers there are. So a lot of the teams, well, every team goes in to win it. It is a competition. So
sure.
You have to understand, why are you entering it? So if somebody has gone off and started doing a bit of pre-production, somebody will find out and somebody will know, which then will get to me. And it isn't fair on the other team filmmakers that are doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, so you're hoping everybody that enters, it's like sports, right? That somebody's not shooting steroids or doing blood doping or whatever.
Yeah.
That everybody starts at the right time.
Yeah, and it does become apparent when you do submit your film that because your genres and your elements are sort of placed on you at 7 o'clock on the night. So
which I like, because then that makes it very difficult to kind of pre-plan. And
so if you're off pre-filming and then you suddenly get these elements, and then you're like, okay, well, now these don't fit my story.
Right.
And then it is really apparent, because some teams do pre-film and pre-production, and I do try to tell people, don't do that, because what are you entering for? It's all fun and games, and that's what it's about. It's all fun and games.
Well, and what's going to happen when you actually let's say you pre-plan and you win, okay, and you get bumped up and you go all the way, and then all of a sudden a Hollywood producer is like, you know what, I liked you because you won this festival, and I want you to make this movie in 48 hours. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to be like, uh-oh.
Yeah, and it's a lot of people then will also sit down, because with all your different genres, and they will sort of decide, okay, well, I'm going to write myself a little sci-fi film, I'm going to write myself a little horror film, I'm going to write an action film, and then so I'm ready that if I get
right, you could just
so at least when I'm ready, then I can go ahead.
Yeah.
But then what happens with that is you will come up with an idea that you actually really like, and you go, okay, well, I really hope I get sci-fi, so that we can just really hit the ball out of the park. And then when the time comes, they pick romance, and then they're like, oh, I really wanted sci-fi, but okay, well, I'll try and make my sci-fi story fit romance.
Right.
And then they're trying to really shoehorn
so it becomes
it in.
apparent. It's hard to get
and
away.
then it just doesn't work. And whereas if you wait until you get romance, and then you get your character, and then if you're truly creative, your synapses will start going, and then you will be able to just
it'll be
come
more
up with
organic
and
sincere.
exactly organic, and then you'll be able to produce something perfectly, and then you won't be annoyed that you didn't get sci-fi. And that's what works the best.
So we were talking during the break about your evolution. I mean, you haven't always been a filmmaker.
No.
I mean, most people aren't, from the womb. So, you obviously had something else, and so people can just get a sense of the people that enter this. I mean, you just had you're like, you know what, I want to do something different, right? What were you doing before?
Well, before I was always interested in film. From the womb when I came out, I just wanted to watch films, and but it's always, it always seemed so out of reach. So you're told, you're going to get a skill, you're going to learn to weld, or you're going to, go down the shipyard, So I went into architectural work, but then obviously the economy tanks. And I just thought, I might as well. You don't want to be having many regrets on your deathbed.
Yeah, of course.
And things are working. In the end, you have to have a smile on your face.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. We're talking to Brian Higgins. He's helping organize the 48-hour film festival here in Salt Lake City, June 7th. Is that right?
17th.
17th. Okay, come on back. We'll keep the conversation going. If you have any questions about signing up, call in. Mental Self-Defense Radio, K-Talk.
AM 630, K-Talk. We live where you live. We shop where you shop. Thanks for supporting the sponsors of K-Talk Radio.
Hey, this is Jake the Computer Guy from PC Laptops. Are you ready for Jake the Computer Guy's Word of the Month? This month's word is hangry. Hangry is when you're so hungry that the lack of food causes you to be angry or frustrated. That's the same feeling you'll get while waiting for an appointment at the big box store, just to get your computer fixed. Don't get hangry. Instead, feel the love at PC Laptops, where we can fix or upgrade any brand of computer with no appointment necessary. If your computer needs repair or upgrades, just stop by. In fact, we're so confident that we can help that if we can't fix or upgrade your computer, we'll buy it from you. Here's the great news. Bring your computer in, no matter what brand it is, to any one of our 9 locations, and we'll run a free evaluation. Virus and spyware scan are your computer. The scan is 100% absolutely free. If you want to feel the love, get into any one of our 9 PC Laptops locations right now, or call us at 1-877-596-SAVE, or check us out at PCLaptops.com, because at PC Laptops, we really love you.
May is Mother's Day. Here's a couple of reminders from Price's Guaranteed Doors. First, doesn't Mom deserve the best working garage door? Are you tired of trying to fix it? For a one-time cost of $259, we'll give your mom the best working door for the rest of her life. Second, all of you who bought a new home from one of our premier builders, Ivory Homes, D.R. Horton, MacArthur Homes, or Peary Homes, remember, go to pricesdoors.com and register for your free lifetime maintenance program. Every door we sell comes with one. And just for Mother's Day, she could get a new Genie garage door opener with a keyless entry, complete and installed for only $259. Call Price's Doors today at 975-7575. That's 975-7575. Home of the Lifetime Maintenance Program.
Tune in each weekday afternoon at 4 for Drive Time Live, the Mills Crenshaw Show, brought to you by efoodsdirect.com/Mills, offering a full range of options from totally self-contained 2-week emergency supplies to a full year's supply. efoodsdirect.com/Mills.
The voice of Utah. AM 630 K-Talk.
K-Talk.com.
#1 for the most live, local, two-way talk.
I'll send an SOS to the world. I'll send an SOS to the world.
Welcome back, Mental Self-Defense Radio. I'm your host, Jake Shannon. We're keeping it, we're not, sometimes we get into crazy, scary stuff or whatever. Today we're keeping it light, talking with Brian Higgins. He is here representing the 48-Hour Film Festival. Again, 48hourfilm.org is the website. .com. Boy, I will get that right, I promise.
Or,
the show.
just do a search and you'll find it.
Okay.
There's not many other 48-hour film festivals out there.
And so, coming up on June 17th at the Gateway, local filmmakers are going to be challenged. It's going to be a tournament type of competition where they're going to be challenged to make a film within 48 hours and then screen it there on the 17th.
Yeah, so basically you've got from the 17th to the 19th is the filmmaking weekend. That's when you make your film.
I see.
Yeah.
So you get your assignment on the 17th, and then the 19th is the show.
Yeah, and then you bring it back. Well, you bring it back on the 19th, and then that's when I have to master all the films. And then the screenings are on the 22nd and the 23rd.
I see.
And that's when it's open to the public, so it is a public event.
So when do they have to register by? Say they find you on Facebook.
They can register right up until the 17th.
Oh, great.
They can even come to me at 7 o'clock on the 17th and say we want to do a team.
Okay.
But last year we had 53 teams. So we've got 17 registered at the moment. And we will hit 50 again this year. There'll be no problem. So, but get in the sooner you get registered, the better, because then you're going to get more of the experience of the community. Meet up with the other filmmakers
and maybe get your crew, a better choice of who your crew is going to be, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the main thing, that's what it is. It's about community. It's about meeting people and getting the camaraderie and the team spirit going. But so then the films are screened at the Gateway on the 22nd, 23rd. There's 4 screening groups from 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock. That's when they're all screened. And that's when they're open to the public. You can come along
and these aren't
watch.
feature-length films. These are short films.
Yeah, they're all shorts, and so they're between 4 to 8 minutes long. And so if you come down to the screenings, you're going to see 1 action-adventure, 1 comedy, 1 drama, 1 horror, 1 sci-fi. So that's the way they're set up, so you don't end up coming down and seeing 7 westerns and 1
right.
romance. You will get 1 of each. at each screening. So that's the 22nd, 23rd, and then on June 30th, that's when the best of is screened, and that's when the awards are screened.
Very cool.
And I also want to say this year the local proceeds we're benefiting Shriners Children's Hospital.
Oh, nice.
This year, so if you are
so not only do you get to go out, meet friends, have fun, and all that kind of stuff, but even a good cause is involved.
Yeah, and we're not looking for monetary donations. It's like toys. If you want to bring a toy, to help the children and stuff like that.
Hey,
so.
That's a great idea. So it's a good cause and kind of a fun project, and you get to maybe meet a bunch of friends, and that's how you plugged into the community here in Salt Lake, right?
Certainly.
I mean, coming all the way from Ireland,
mm-hmm.
If I were to think of cultures that were different, it might be, living in Belfast and then coming to Salt Lake City.
Yep, and as I say, that's all my friends are in the filmmaking community. And then, it's even though the 48 hour happens once a year, throughout the rest of the year, we still make films. You will meet other people on other teams, and then next year, a couple of teams will amalgamate and join together and make a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger team, and make an even better team.
Sure.
And you'll find people that you will never work with again. You'll find people that you will love to. You'll make other films throughout the year, and hopefully, go on to make features and things like that. So.
And before the break, we were talking about your own personal journey. And we were talking during the break a little bit about it too. That you had kind of your normal corporate job, and it was getting you down.
Oh yeah, certainly. And now I've got a smile on my face. Now I've got a little boy at home. We had a little boy. It was his first birthday last week.
Congratulations.
So now I get to sit at home and be a house husband,
Yeah, but be a part of raising them and still being able to bring in money because you're an entrepreneur and you're
mm-hmm.
doing these great things and providing something to people that...
Yeah, and it's all about, for me to stand up at the front of the theater and do the Q&A. Everyone gets to do a Q&A as well, and talk about their film and answer questions with the audience and to be able to promote your own film and just to have that, as I say, community spirit and just to see the joy and what you can pull together in these tough economic times.
Yeah, I mean, and it's fun because making a film really isn't that expensive or difficult to do, especially nowadays. You were talking about with computers and stuff.
Yeah,
it's almost...
and you can, some people even make them on their cell phones these days.
Wow.
Basically you can. If you have a cell phone, you can make a film.
Wow.
If you've got a cell phone and a computer, you've got your editing software in your computer. And I know last year, 2 years ago, a family entered and they made a film just with their little boy, with their son, and they just took still photographs and then made it in PowerPoint. And it was just him dressed up as a spy, and he had to find out who was stealing cookies from the cookie jar.
Okay.
They had no clue how to make a film. They just wanted to do this to show him on the big screen.
Sure.
And it won the audience award because it was so cute and just nice, and that's what people respond to. You know, in the end, you have only got 48 hours, so you have to take that into consideration that you don't want to have all these CGI robots punching each other. Come down to the cool story. What are people going to remember? And
so you've mentioned that this family just put together this quick, and it was still pictures, right? Kind of
mm-hmm.
I don't know what they call that, but where you show a picture and then that proceeds to the
like a montage type thing.
Yeah, like a montage. Yeah. And what other films? What were some of the big? First of all, what were the big winners last year, just in general, and then? Did any of the local Salt Lake people then proceed to go further on in the competition?
Yeah, well, obviously the winner of Salt Lake, because the winner of every city gets to go on to the
next level.
Yeah,
okay.
And the national filmmaking competition is called Filmapalooza, and that happens every year in Miami at the Miami International Film Festival.
Okay.
And that happens at the end of March, and then that's when all of America goes against each other, and then everyone in Europe goes against each other. Another one.
Sure.
And then
so what happened with the local Salt Lake film that made it there? What was it about? Who was it?
Well, it was about. It was actually called "That's What I'm Here For" because the dialogue last year was "That's What I'm Here For." So they called their film "That's What I'm Here For," and it was about artists who had been put into a mental institution because their art was
so weird.
Yeah. And they were all telling their story, and it all became, well, that's what I'm here for, So it had a mime artist and inspirational dancers and then actors and things like that. So it basically won near enough every award, best. Best acting.
Who was the filmmaker?
It was Tom Rika.
Okay.
Yeah, and she comes back every year. So there are a lot of filmmakers that do come back every year.
And then, so she won Salt Lake,
Yep.
like all kinds of awards, from the acting to the directing to all that kind of stuff, right?
And then she went on to Filmpalooza. Unfortunately, she didn't win Filmpalooza.
Sure.
And I know the film that did win the entire Filmpalooza had Martin Freeman, who's actually Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit.
Oh wow, cool.
So it does
attract a decent
caliber
advocates from kind of the Hollywood crowd as well.
Certainly.
Wow.
So.
Wow, that's fascinating. So again, if people want to get involved, 48hourfilm.com.
Yep.
See, I told you I get it right. That's because my producer put it up on screen for me. She helped me cheat. And again, the dates. So they can go to 48hourfilm.com, register or contact you with questions and whatnot. But the dates of the actual competition and then the showings, one more time for people who might have just tuned in.
17th of June to the 19th of June is your filmmaking weekend. That's your 48 hours to make your film. The screenings are the 22nd to the 23rd of June, and then the awards are the 30th of June.
Okay, perfect. And now, so I'm assuming that you two are a filmmaker, not just running film festivals and such?
Yeah, mostly these days I'm a producer-director, mostly producing on the side of things. I'm also trying to set up a distribution business where I go to a lot of festivals and I'm trying to pick up.
And you represent, you say, hey, that's a great film, my company is X, let me sell it type of thing?
Yeah, whereas I will take the film off the filmmaker's hands and then I will try and represent, as you say, to the bigger studios and try and get it to a larger audience and things like that. So.
Oh, good. So you're hustling and
yeah, in the end, it's what I love to do, and it's not work to me. It's a hobby where, I can pay the bills and put a smile on my face. And
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So, and if people want to see your movies, how would they do that?
They can find them on YouTube.
You got them on YouTube. What's the channel?
Just the Bryn Hig.
Is it
you caught me off guard?
The word THE isn't in there?
Yeah, THEBRINHIGG.
Okay,
but I haven't really promoted that in years. So.
Okay, good.
We actually, I'll tell you what, we were actually shooting a film on Sunday, about. It's called Hua. A lot of people make fun and say it's a biography of Al Pacino, but it's actually about Marines that are getting tied down by a sniper. So we were shooting that on Sunday.
Oh, interesting.
So we're sort of at the level now where we're attracting a lot of people that want to work with us on the production side. Myself and James Cawley, which is my co-director. And then we get a lot of people to come and just to work with stuff because we can produce something very quickly on a weekend, to get stuff out as a calling card. So
now, do you find that big film festivals like say a Sundance, which is like just ginormous, does that actually attract filmmakers to live here, or is it more that they just kind of enter it and then they show up and party in Park City and then bail?
Well, I find a lot of people do live here because we're so close to LA. You're just like an hour and a half straight away, and it's a much nicer place to live than LA.
I can attest to that from firsthand experience. Yes,
yeah. And there are a lot of big productions that come through here, like I say, with 127 hours last year.
Oh, really? What's that? DeFranco or whatever that guy?
Yeah, James Franco. Obviously, that was because it was the story was actually
in the mountains.
Yeah, from here.
I did not know that was filmed locally, though.
Oh yeah, they filmed it. It was actually in a warehouse in Sugar House. They built the set. A lot of people say there was a lot of stuff that was filmed on location, but where he was actually with his hand in the rock, it was in a warehouse.
Sugar House.
In Sugar House.
Huh.
So a lot of stuff does come through and gets filmed here because the Film Commission has a lot of good tax credits and things like that.
I see. So they have incentive to come here.
Yeah. But again, if you are a filmmaker and you're trying to get on other people's sets, the best thing is for yourself to come up with your own idea and work that angle. It's hard because it's unionized, things like that.
Sure.
The jobs are already gone. And I know that there's talk of them trying to get a studio to come here to be built in Park City.
Really?
And basically there will be 80 jobs for that, like full-time jobs, but if they
any idea which studio? Is it?
No, it'll just be a studio, and then it'll just be rented out for whatever.
I see.
if it ever happens. You know.
Well, it's interesting because we were talking about during the break. You know, when I'm driving on the 15 here and there. You know, you see these straight to CD LDS movies. So there's obviously a huge cottage industry for that here.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got Sundance. Then what was it? Like I know. I've never even seen the show High School Musical or something was filmed at one of the high schools here.
Yep.
So there is an interesting connection.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is kind of that nice, and you're right. The benefit is that you don't have 2-hour traffic just to get across the city or any of that kind of
and
stuff.
you've got, with all the locations that you have here too, because you've got the salt flats, you can basically go out and film, a crazy zombie apocalypse film out there. And then you've got the mountains, so you can pretend you're in the Swiss Alps. Actually, where we shot down, it was Silver City, near Eureka, and basically that was Afghanistan. You know, there's so many, and then you've got Salt Air, so you can go and film a Bollywood film out there. You know, there's so that's just the beauty of the locations, and then obviously the Wild West, like all the like the John Ford and Clint Eastwood films.
And then go downtown if you need an urban type of thing or whatever.
So it is a very unique area to film in. So.
Yeah, and even, I guess, the Great Salt Lake, if you needed some sort of water scene or something like that, it's a big body of water that you could use.
Yeah, and then Wendover, you've got the airfield. So there was a lot of films that were filmed there with, what was that one with Nicolas Cage? Con Air was filmed there.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, and the plane is actually still sitting there.
Oh, no way, I did not know that.
They just left it there after they crashed it, so it's there, and you can go and play around in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you could actually use that as your set. If you were so inclined.
Yep.
Wow. Fascinating stuff. So again, if people wanted to just attend the settings, let's the screenings. Let me ask you this: what is the registration cost? So say I want to get involved. What's the cost to register?
At the moment, we're still in early bird registration, which is $140 per team.
Oh, okay.
Up until the 23rd of May. And you split that up between your team members, so it's going to be $5 each, whatever.
Yeah.
So then after early bird, then it goes up to 160, and then after that's up until June 7th, and then after that it's 175. So it's in your incentives, to get in early.
To get in early, but even then, I mean, it's still affordable.
Yeah.
And then what about the actual screenings?
The screenings are the cost of a cinema ticket.
Okay.
It's just like going to the cinema. Just
$6, $7, $7, $8, something like that.
Yeah, it's like
because you guys have to basically rent out.
Yeah, we've got to cover our costs.
Sure.
That's the thing. As I say, you're going to go. It's going to be a different experience than just going to see your typical blockbuster. Because all the filmmakers are going to be there. You're going to get to come and chat to the filmmakers. Yeah,
so you actually get to talk to local artists.
Yeah.
And
you're going to see some good films. The films are good quality stuff. And you'll be amazed what people can pull off in 48 hours.
So you said the winner, was it last year? What was her name again?
Tamrika.
Tamrika?
Yep.
Okay, and so she's won before, huh?
She's won a couple of prizes because we do have we've got all the different prizes. We've got best film, best actor, best director, best cinematography. You get the other prizes like for best prop, best character, best line of dialogue. So overall we've got 12 prizes. So, but she won 5 of the awards last year. So
oh wow!
Just swept the board clean. So.
Wow. Now, is she like a professional filmmaker? I mean, does she do that for a living?
No, she studies. She actually owns the Blue Plate. The Blue Plate Diner?
Yeah.
So there you go. So
how cool is that?
Yeah, so it's because you get people all across the board that are just interested in film that just want to have the opportunity to make something, which this gives them the opportunity to make.
And then if they, in fact, have talent for it, you get to see it then.
Yeah. And a lot of other people come along to make, who are living in the world of corporate video, and have just lost the drive and passion of why they went to film school.
Yeah.
And then once a year they get to make a narrative and do the whole creativity again. And this gives them the drive to go back into the corporate video world for another year.
Yeah, certainly, because they get people telling that it was a passion and that's why they did it, but then to make a living you have to do what everybody else tells you all the time.
Yep.
Fascinating stuff. We're talking with Brian Higgins from the 48 Hour Film Project. Go to 48hourfilm.com/Salt Lake City to learn more about it. We'll come back, talk a little more about this after the break. Come on back, Mental Self-Defense Radio.
AM 630, K-Talk, Utah's oldest, most trusted talk station.
63% of Americans are overweight. If you've decided it's time to leave your flab behind, HipFit Weight Loss is for you. HipFit changes habits. Lose the bad habits, lose the weight. HipFit is guaranteed to make your weight loss successful and has absolutely no health risks. HipFit students are not required to count calories, weigh portions, or buy specialty food. Start losing weight immediately. Call 801-635-4488. HipFit is conveniently located at Salt Lake City Family Hypnosis. Ask about our Guaranteed to Stop Smoking program. 801-635-4488.
Are you looking for specialists in color correction or keratin bond and tape-in extensions? Are you a man, woman, or child in need of a cutting-edge haircut, coloring service, perm, or non-formaldehyde straightening treatment? Then come visit us at Jean Nicole Salon. We provide facial waxing, nail services, and pedicures that will be the perfect topper for any other service. And don't forget, updos, hairstyles, and makeup for any wedding, prom, formal event, or themed party. Yes, we can fulfill all your wedding needs, from engagements to bridals, and of course to making the big day itself absolutely perfect. At Jean Nicole's, we even have a florist consultant on site. Jean Nicole Salon. Call us for an appointment. 801-571-3536. 801-571-3536. We are conveniently located off 4th Street in Draper, and be sure to mention this ad for a free biominal conditioning treatment. Oh, and by the way, we are now hiring. 801-571-3536. Jean Nicole Salon, a professional salon where you feel just like part of the family.
Tune in each weekday afternoon at 4 for Drive Time Live, the Mills Crenshaw Show, brought to you by efoodsdirect.com/Mills. Gourmet meals at your demand, just add water. efoodsdirect.com/Mills.
The voice of Utah. AM 630 K-Talk.
K-Talk.com.
Number one for the most live, local, two-way talk.
Mental Self-Defense Radio. I'm your host, Jake Shannon. We are back here. We've got Brian Higgins. He's with the 48-Hour Film Project, which is a competition where local Salt Lake City filmmakers, well, anywhere really from Utah, get together and try to make a film in 48 hours and enter it into the competition. And, yeah, it's fascinating stuff. So we were talking a little during the break. What are some of the other films that stand out, at least in your mind, the winners or the ones that were just like, wow, that was made in 48 hours?
Well, there was a great one last year from a team called Solar Shock Productions, which is a team, basically, they make a lot of stuff in Ogden. And,
okay.
They got foreign film last year, and none of them knew a foreign language. And normally when I think if you get foreign film and if you don't know how to speak a foreign language, you would just make up a language,
sure,
and just subtitle it anyway,
sure,
and just be talking. Blah, 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 blah. It's still a foreign film,
Yeah.
So they went on Craigslist and they just asked straight away, who knows a foreign language, and we're making a film. And this guy came on and says, okay, well, I speak German, and he came down to Ogden and he phonetically taught them how to speak German.
Wow.
And they made a film about Hitler's 100th birthday, and it was so well done, and basically they made a film, and it was that Hitler survived the war and that Germany won the war.
Okay, so an alternate universe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that there was a guy that was going to assassinate Hitler with a birthday cake on his 100th birthday. And there's a great special effects artist in Utah called Chris Hansen, who has worked on a lot of films with Hellboy, Underworld, Men in Black, basically any fantasy sci-fi film that you can think of. He has worked on those films.
Wow.
So he was able to make a 100-year-old Hitler.
Wow.
For them, but he didn't want to. He didn't want to use his talents to say, well, I'm the big man and I'm gonna really. So he used just tissue paper and stuff that would be available to the average Joe. So the guy makes this the birthday cake with the swastika and everything, and goes to give it to Hitler, and then Hitler comes out in the wheelchair, and the reveal was amazing. It really did look like a 100-year-old Hitler.
Wow.
And the assassination fails, and then Hitler has his birthday cake, and that's the type of thing. And It's just funny, like those types of stories.
And these films are like 4 minutes or 8 minutes or something, right?
And so you have to think, you have to, when you get down to writing your story on the Friday night, just think of simple, cliched stuff like that. That works well. But
during the break, we were talking. You said that you actually had to get into some arguments with people because some people just don't believe that a lot of these films are being made here. For example, you were saying about the James Franco movie, the one where he had to like chew his arm off or whatever.
Yeah, with 127 hours.
That the set, you actually walked onto the set, saw it, and they had like, what was it, styrofoam or paper mache rocks or something?
If somebody blindfolded you, spun you around, and then took you in a car and drove around for 6 hours, obviously, because that's the length of time it would take you to get down to Moab.
Sure.
And then took you into this place, took the blindfold off, you would have believed that you were in southern Utah. But it was genuinely made in
a
warehouse in Sugar House. And the boulder
and you
was
said it was like fiberglass or something?
Yeah, it was all, but they did a really good job with the set. But yes, they did do some of the stuff down in.
So what are some of the other ones? You said that was filmed here.
Thelma and Louise.
Oh, really?
Here,
See, I'm a transplant from L.A., so I actually don't know of any of this stuff. This is fascinating.
Yeah.
So Thelma and Louise and
The Outlaw Josie Wales, Con Air, as I say. A lot of the Pirates of the Caribbean was filmed here.
What?
Well, parts of it.
Really? Like studio parts or something?
No, when the ship was on the Great Salt Lake.
That was filmed on the Great Salt Lake?
Yeah. When he's trying to pull the ship, when there's lots of Johnny Depp, that was filmed here.
Fascinating.
Napoleon Dynamite, obviously.
Yeah, obviously that one.
But there's loads. There's lots and lots. Because, as I say, there's so many. City Slickers.
Are you?
That was Gold.
Really?
Yeah. Because they're down in Goblin Valley.
Oh, that's fascinating stuff. So, I mean, so Utah actually does have maybe a little bit of a...
And actually, like, if you sit down on a Saturday night and you're bored to tears and you flip on the Sci-Fi channel to watch those terrible sci-fi monster films,
they're kind of like B-level production.
The majority of those are all filmed here as well.
Really? Yeah. So. Like, what are some of them? I probably recognize the name because I do flip through it.
Well, like Megasaurus Monster Shark.
Those are filmed here?
Yeah, a lot of people do film. That's your ticket is, you film something and then you sell it to the Sci-Fi Channel.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. So, now do you see that more here, is there more of a pre-production, post-production, or is it the actual filming? What's kind of the heavy here? Like, if you're going to... Because I was talking to my buddy today, I'm saying, yeah, you should come out here from L.A. L.A. is a disaster area. You should move out here. But the reality of the situation is what? I mean, where is maybe the jobs or the interest if you were going to try to make a living out here? In that industry?
Well, it's across the whole gambit. Everything is available here. You've got your production houses. You've got, as I say, the locations are available here.
Man, if you just even set up a production company and filmed weddings to make some money and then shot art house films on the side.
Yeah, as I say, there's a lot of people that are stuck in the corporate video world. There's a lot of digital media here, like at BYU. A lot of people from BYU graduate and go and work for Pixar. You've got,
really?
EA Studios downtown.
Right.
Doing a lot of the animation. What you got to do is you got to come up with your own story. Everything is available to you here.
It's just get involved.
Yeah,
and this is a great way to do it.
Studios, people think that they need Warner Brothers or they need Paramount or they need some big studio to fund them, but you don't. You just need to have the good idea and just get out there.
The classic from kind of my generation was El Mariachi. That he shot it for like $5,000 on his credit cards, and now Rodriguez is like a staple in Hollywood.
And he's in New Mexico with Troublemaker Studios, and he just funds all his own things. He's got his own studio, and he just makes his own stuff over and over.
So it's possible to do, and this is such a great way to get involved. Again, for those of you who are just tuning in, I'm talking with Brian Higgins. Now, Brian is coordinating the efforts for the local efforts here in Salt Lake City for the 48-hour film festival. Again, you can go to, and again, it's the number 48hourfilm.com. And then if you're so inclined you can't browse, you can hit the / Salt Lake City. And coming up, June 17th is the deadline to sign up.
Yep.
And then the actual showing was it the 21st, you said?
22nd, 23rd.
22nd. Okay, great, man. This is fascinating stuff. I love it again because, you know, people may not know this about me, but I went to University of Colorado at Boulder for my undergraduate, and I started as a film major. And the funny thing is the guys from South Park were actually in the film department then.
Yep.
And they were casting for Alfred Packer, the musical, which, you know, for those who don't know who Alfred Packer is, he's a famous cannibal that that was in the West when, you know, they were in the settling days. And they did a musical just like they are doing a musical now about the LDS Church.
Yeah, there's a wonderful commentary on that DVD.
Oh, really?
If you haven't heard
Commentary track?
Yeah. They all basically all get drunk and just
start talking nonsense. Yeah, it's fascinating. I love film because I think even if you're you don't want to necessarily do something artistic, there's so much power in documentary films now. I mean, even look at guys like the Zeitgeist guys or Alex Jones or Loose Change. I mean, these are people that are making a massive impact in our culture, and they're just getting out a camera and maybe taking some clips, some found footage, and patching it together with a narration under it.
Yeah, certainly. There is a genre in the 48 it's mockumentary.
Oh, cool.
You know, but it's still you're making the documentary.
Sure, but more like a Spinal Tap or something.
Yeah. But it's still because you can't make a documentary in the 48 hours, but you're still mockumentary.
Now, do you, and forgive me if I'm kind of inundated with information here. So do you assign the genre to these teams, or do they?
No, they pick it out of a hat.
Oh, but it's random. They don't actually say, "Oh, I have my heart set on."
No, it's mostly what happens. They don't want if they're so set against. Mostly what happens is if they get romance, that's the one that people don't want to make.
Sure.
But people, have got preconceived of what a romance is. But people, you could make a romance about a fellow with a cheeseburger.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't have to be.
Or an idea. He's so enamored that he sacrifices or something.
So people, if you really do not want your genre, you can take the wild card, and then the wild card is then assigned. And the wild card is more specific. So, like, if you got action adventure, say, you could make a war film or a time travel film or whatever, but the wild card is specifically doppelganger, a buddy film, or something that's specific. But with your other genres, you could basically make a lot of different things. So.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and I think it is kind of cool that it's not a big heavy deal. Just people can go and enter and make a cool, fun thing and make friends.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But then you can really also, if you do want to make it a big heavy deal, really pour your heart into it as well.
And my advice is to keep your team small. Keep them down to like 12, 15 people. And everyone's going to be happy and enjoy the films. All it is it's mostly about having fun.
Yeah, and we certainly could use more of that in today's world. We've got Nick who's calling in. I'm not sure if he's got a question or a statement. Nick from Salt Lake, are you there, buddy?
Thanks, Jake. Brian, thanks for being our guest today.
Hello.
Brian, where would you go if you had a sort of a classic story, a longer story, something like a Hurt Locker or something like that? Would Utah be a good place for something like that?
To film it or to distribute it or what?
Well, if you had the screenplay and you wanted to put it out there and have somebody look at it and then film it too.
Well, there's a lot of different places that you can. There's I know that actually the Salt Lake Film Society, they've actually got their screenwriting, their screenplay. They're accepting screenplays at the moment for that very nature. So you can look at them. It's do you know the website off?
I don't, but Nick, what might be interesting too, because you're basically saying that either you or somebody has put together a screenplay that you're really passionate about.
Right.
So what you might want to do is actually consider getting involved, and you may not actually, I don't know how much background you have in film, but this would be a great way to get your feet wet and really at almost no cost to you to see how it's done. So if then later on you wanted to make a bigger film, maybe it's 10 minutes, or maybe you luck out and you do get like war film genre or whatever, and you can make a movie like this. At least you'll have the footage and you can shop that around to people who might be able to give you some money for it. So it might behoove you, if you are interested in making a film, even if you don't make it about this particular subject, getting involved on this 48-hour film project just to get your feet wet.
Yeah, just to meet people. That'd be a great idea. I like that. Yeah, and I do have a friend that has a great screenplay, and it's the book itself is probably going to be coming out because it's going to New York, but New York's a long way off for somebody who wants to make a film. And the setting is simple.
Why not look at this like what Brian has been saying, that this is an incredible networking opportunity for the people here in your backyard?
Will do. Thank you very much, Brian.
Okay, thank you.
So, even if people don't necessarily, maybe if they go into it with the idea of, hey, you're going to get an assignment, you're not going to get to make your Hurt Locker film, for example, like what's going on with Nick, but it's an incredible, maybe if you have a little bit of forethought, you could say, hey, I'm going to network with a bunch of people, and if I can sell them on this idea and they think it's as cool as I do.
Yeah, and then you've got a ready-made studio that are going to want to work together and make the film. As I say, our film Hua that we made on Sunday, that's basically like a Hurt Locker type thing. So he's made a connection there. If he wants to find me on Facebook, I'll certainly link him on to our short.
And I found Brian today on Facebook too. Just look up Brian Higgins. There's no crazy spelling there. It's Brian, right?
Yep.
And I found him today. It was relative. It took me about 2 seconds. Might be a good thing to do. We've got. Is it Topher in Salt Lake? Tofrin, are you there, buddy?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, so what's your question for Brian, or what do you want to say?
Oh, no, I just do the 48-hour film festival, Brian.
Hi.
And I've done it for the past 3 years.
Oh, great.
Are you the Topher that I think you are?
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
It's
Hello.
Topher Needle.
Yep.
And
yes, you got the Producer's Choice Award last.
Hey, so we're running out of time, Tofrin, but you'd recommend it. A good experience.
Yes, I would recommend it.
Hey, thanks for the call. Brian, thanks for coming in, man. It was a fun time talking to you. Good luck on the festival. 48hourfilm.com.
Yep, happy days. Thank you.
Yep, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. K-Talk.
AM 630, K-Talk. Where patriots come to cheer and progressives run in fear.
Wake up without yuck in your lungs or the dark cloud of lung cancer or heart disease looming over your future. Have the energy and health you deserve by simply calling Salt Lake City Family Hypnosis at 801